Hello, Monica. Welcome to the show. I don't know why I'm fucking singing. Not even 10 seconds in, and I'm already stuffing this up.
Wow, this is going to be a real conversation. It's a pleasure to be here with you, by the way.
We are good buds. We are both in the online space. We are in a membership together, but I think we're friends. We are friends. And it's funny because everyone that I've interviewed, they're like my cyber friends. My husband's like, who are you fucking talking to? Who are these people? But I feel like you just connect, right? Like you just get along with people and, whatever, go with it.
Well, I consider you a soul sister because we're both Latinas, right? Latin
Mhm.
moms here. We share so much in common, but honestly, it's energy. Cool people attract cool people. So it's going to be a cool mom conversation,
Yeah, it
right? We're
is.
going to be
Strip
talking
back.
all the things. Yeah.
Real talk. Mon, do you want to tell people what you do? Well, here you are.
Yes. Well, I guess I should, huh? That would
Yeah,
be important.
because definitely not
So
Australian. We know that from your accent.
no, I am sure not. I am from the Midwest. Technically, I'm Colombian, but I have been in the States since I was 5 years old. So growing up with immigrant family in the States was definitely quite an upbringing. And so I like to think that I bring a little bit of that sass into the way that I coach moms. So I am a mompreneur coach. And we focus a lot on health because that is the foundation to our business, to our happiness, to all the things. And so it's been just an honor to serve this community. I feel like there's such an evolution that's happening in motherhood, and we're redefining what it feels like and what it looks like to be a mom, to be a woman, doing all of the things. On her own terms. And so I'm really here to just empower moms to feel amazing every single day because it is definitely possible while still raising little children. Like you do not have to sacrifice. You do not have to put yourself on the back burner anymore. And, personally, like I am in the best shape that I've ever been prior to
Yep.
having children. And I feel stronger, happier, more alive than ever before. And I feel like every mom should feel that way. So that's my mission statement.
I
That's my
know.
Miss America speech. Uh, but I
Change the
want to,
world peace.
yes, save the world, save
Save
the
the
planet.
mums. But it's
Yeah.
true. It's so true. When you were saying that, it's like, I was even saying that to a girlfriend the other day. I'm like, because I'm lifting weights similar to you. And I just feel like really strong and confident. And it wasn't hard initially. Like it was hard initially to join the gym, I will say, because when you're in the thick of it, I mean, when they're little and we naturally as nurturers and mums, we just put our family first. It's just like a go-to thing, right? Like you put them first and you start to recognize that you feel like shit essentially. You don't know what. It's just a multitude of things, from nutrition, from fitness, from everything. You don't know where to start, but then it's weird that you feel guilty to even want to change as well, because it's like, oh, I have to do this for me, therefore I have to take away from them. But it's not that at all. And once you start to just make those little changes and shifts, wow, don't you show up differently? I mean, we still kind of go ghetto, but a Latina's a Latina. No, but
Yeah.
yeah, but you feel different. And so you show up differently. Do you feel that way? Like, especially with serving the women that you do, like, what do they come to you feeling? Like, what are those symptoms? Because you probably were there yourself.
Yes. Well, I basically help the mamas that, how I was when I started. And I always like to say that it starts with, reclaiming our body physically, right? I think because we give so much in childbirth and nursing, and I feel like, the first 2 years are pretty much a blur because you literally physically have given everything you possibly can. And so I think the first step is reclaiming your body. And one way to do that is fitness. And I think that that's why you and I really vibe with that, is because that is a way for us to physically take control of our body and to create that boundary that's so important. And so a lot of mamas come to me just not knowing where to start, right? Kind of, we feel a little bit lost, not a
Yeah,
little bit, a lot
a
lost.
lot, a lot. Because you're in these two worlds. You're like, I'm not that lady that I was, because obviously I got these kids that like leech off me. To keep what do you want, child? You want food? Oh, sorry. No, but you're in that identity where you're sort of like, I'm not her, but who am I?
Yes. That was the scariest part for me. I think with the second, I have two boys, and with Pablo, I was like I legit did not recognize the woman looking in the mirror. And I just remember in his first birthday, I was like, I can't do this. Like either like something's got to give. Like either I'm not cut out to be a mom, or I have to radically take ownership of my life back again. And so the first way that I started doing that is simply just going back to the gym
Yep.
and carving out the time. Is something as basic as that. Drink water, sleep more, go for a walk. Like don't make it this big, like grand, goal that you have. It's like just simplify it and make it simple. And just one simple act can like really be a catalyst for you starting to make these micro changes in your life. And so that exactly what happened to me was like, finally, I was like, you know what, enough is enough. Something's got to change. And, and I say this too, I think oftentimes people assume that because and for me, I took a sabbatical from corporate to raise my sons. That wasn't part of the plan, as in motherhood.
As in nothing is.
Nothing. No, I never intended to be, suburban mom, stay-at-home mom, with the stroller and all the things. So that was a rude awakening, one, so that there's a shift that happens right away. But two, it's just like really redefining who you are, what makes you happy. Like that was the part that I think really shook me the most, was like what made me happy and joyful was no longer the same. And so I'm like, what do I do? Who am I? Right. You have this really big crisis moment. So
you do. And I'm really curious to hear people, because when you actually ask people, what is it that you do that makes you happy? You just like put aside, obviously spending family time and all that stuff. Like, what is it? The amount of people that can't even answer that, it's pretty hard. I remember my awakening moment was I was carrying a load of washing to hang on the back line. And I could feel my back fat jiggling. I literally could feel this like fat under my bra, just like wobbling, like jiggle. I mean, like it's still there. Like I don't care. But it was just that moment that I think, that with the sleep deprivation, and I probably ate fucking leftovers that my kids, didn't. They tossed across the room that I probably spent like 3 hours making for them. That was like, organic and all the things. And just felt like shit. And that was like, I was like, that's it. I'm not going to feel guilty for going to the gym for my own mental health primarily and moving my body. Because I feel that I'm taking time away from my family, which is such bullshit, isn't it? But yeah, it's so true. That whole loss of identity is a real thing. And do you feel like as well when people feel these things? I mean, I know when I was there, I think I just wanted to do too much too quick, like I wanted to go to the gym and then I wanted to do all the things. And it's almost like I overwhelm myself, because how is that sustainable? How is it? Do you feel like that too?
Yeah, I think oftentimes we feel like we have to add more, when in fact just subtracting something could be just as powerful, right? And this is something that I like to focus on, that oftentimes we're as mom and we're probably overachievers, perfecting, doing all the things. Control. It's like, can you just like remove one thing? What is the one thing that's maybe the catalyst that kind of, is the linchpin to like, you derailing your efforts? For me, it was watching TV. The moment I eliminated that one disempowering habit, which seems so like innocent.
Hell no.
I know you and I will not agree on this, but for me, this was a huge one for me, right? And I'm not here to like diss on anyone's pastimes, like if that's something important to you, that's great. But for me, I knew that was taking me away from being like making time for me, right? Because I use it as an escapism. So this is where I want to encourage your listeners to just think of your daily life, like what you do every day, which is your habits. And what is one thing that you do every single day that, if you probably didn't do that, you would maybe get more sleep. Maybe you wouldn't late night snack. Maybe, there would just be other things that you would make time for. And so for me, television was like I numbed out. That's how I numbed out.
Were you watching it all day as well? Like, were you watching was it just at night?
It was literally, I put my kids to bed and it was like, this is me time. Here comes the bottle of wine. I'm going
Oh,
to
yeah,
binge watch whatever Netflix, in America, like you just binge watch all
totally.
the shows. And I just remember being like, why am I so invested in someone else's narrative? Why am I so invested in other
Yeah.
people's stories? It's because I wanted to escape my own reality. I'm getting really deep here, not
Mm.
trying to get all there, but just recognize why you do certain behaviors. What is that trigger that, gets you to that behavior? For me, I wanted to escape my reality, right? I wasn't
Yeah.
wanting to confront that I felt lost, that I didn't know who I was. And so what did I do? I shifted my attention to someone else's, stories, and I got lost in the characters. And I'm like, why am I so invested in someone else's story? What about my story? What about my life, right? Why am I vicariously living through some reality show, competition show of watching them,
Yeah, totally.
fulfill their dreams? I'm like, no, it's my turn. Like, so these are just something to think about, is what is something you can just remove from your day, not
I
even so
agree.
much adding. So
It's
anyway.
that, yeah. And I feel like sometimes, oh, I don't know about you, but just given my personality, like by adding in my freaking head, I feel like I'm doing more, accomplishing more, because it's like ticking another box, right? Because that's how
Mhm.
my mind thinks. It's bonkers.
Mhm.
It's, yeah. And so that then goes into food, because I think you and I are big on conscious eating and just really about like quality of food and being mindful of what we put into our bodies. And I'm not saying like you got to stand at the stove all fucking day and slave off, but I'm the amount of, women that say, oh my God, how you bothered to plan, how you bothered to, you know what I mean? Think about what you want to cook for the week ahead. And it can be done in any way that you like. If you are a person that likes to, creatively cook, but just being a bit of, having things at hand ready to go will assist in making a new habit easier, because then you'll have shit on the go rather than just being like, well, it's raining now, I have a baby, I've got to go to the supermarket, I have to buy this, I have to come back, I'll stuff it, I'll just, I'll just get takeaway, I'll just do whatever. You're
Mhm.
big on conscious eating as well, aren't you? Because I know that you do that a
Yeah.
lot in your planner.
Yeah, well, I mean, honestly, I just intuitively eat and I'm kind of
Yeah.
a creature of habit. So this is, one way to simplify cooking is learn the basics. And this is what I think you do so well, in your subscription and like how you teach about cooking, in that, if you know proper knife skills, like I know, like this is coming from
I
someone who
know.
literally didn't know anything prior to motherhood. I didn't know how to use a knife. I
Yeah.
didn't know how to cook. I knew how to make eggs and a charcuterie board. That was like, that was
Yeah.
it. I did not know how to do anything. And it wasn't until I started learning, like having the proper tools, like just like with
Mm-hmm.
anything, if you're going to work out, you need workout clothes, you need gym shoes, you need equipment. Same thing at the kitchen, like setting yourself up for
Basics.
success. Like that's it. It's
Basics.
the basics.
And
It's
cooking
not
things that
simple.
you may like, that are easy. This is the thing. Keep it easy. It doesn't have to be. I mean, I know a lot of people, they're like, oh, I'm going to whip out and dust off, this cookbook that I had from 100 years ago that says like Jamie Oliver's ragu that takes 10 hours. It's like, just start off by making a bolognese sauce that you don't need to follow a recipe. Just plan that out, have the ingredients ready to go. And that way you've taken a massive chunk of time off your hands for the day. That is the main thing. And good quality, good quality. Because I know that people are like, oh, yeah, but I eat out and but I'm ordering this. I'm like, yeah, there's fucking sugar in that shit. Like, we don't know what, they put in the food. And I'm not saying that takeaway is bad and we don't need a break. 100%. Like it's an 80-20 rule generally. But day to day, I mean, it can be done. It definitely can be done. As much as you can be bothered to go to the supermarket every day, roaming in and out of the aisles, thinking, what am I going to fucking cook? It's more effort to do that than it is to just sit down once a week, go, yep, it's just blah, 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 buy everything in one go and have it ready to go. That's just my outlook on things. I like to just keep it straight, keep it easy, and just, yeah, take the bullshit out
Yeah,
of it.
I mean, the perfect analogy is this. If you had a sports car, you wouldn't go put cheap gas in your sports car. Like, why would you take better care of an inanimate object than your body. And that's exactly what you do every time you outsource nutrition. That's literally what you're doing. You're saying, I am not worried. I don't care that much about my body. I'm just going to outsource it to Joe Schmo at, whatever restaurant, which may be great or not, but neither here or there. It's like, what percentage of that are you just outsourcing your nutrition and your health, essentially, right? Because what you put in your body is what impacts the output. So
100%.
it's that important. So like I use the car analogy because everyone can relate. Like you would never even
Yeah.
think about putting cheap gas. You would put premium. So why wouldn't you do that with your body? Buy quality ingredients. Like it's worth it. You will be more satiated. It will be more delicious. Like when you cut corners, then you're not, that's where I feel like a lot of that frustration and overwhelm happens. And when you just strip it back and
Yeah.
just really simplify the things, I think it makes it so much easier. So I know for me, cooking was a big like hurdle. I know for a lot of women it
Did
is.
you like cooking though, or no?
Absolutely not. No, I
Yeah.
was, because I'm Latin and I don't want to stereotype, but my mom was like, kids don't belong in the kitchen. I know there are
Mm-hmm.
other cultures where they embrace children being in the kitchen. I was not. I was like, you are out. We were not taught how to cook. We weren't allowed in the kitchen. We weren't allowed to be interactive. Like we weren't allowed to get messy. So there were so many things I had to overcome in my own personal upbringing of, wanting to understand the kitchen. And then more importantly, I was so raised to be a career woman, and I was, like in corporate, or if you're a person who's like always going, I guess with the pandemic, it's all changed.
I
But
know, right?
back in the day, you ate out a lot. You were in
Uh-huh.
the office all the time. And so you just ordered in, like you just didn't have the same necessity of having to cook for yourself because you were one person. But when you start feeding a little one, then you start realizing, oh, what's in this package? What are ingredients? How does it affect someone's developmental? That's when I started getting curious about. That's why I think, because you and I both serve moms, we can reverse that trend with our children. Like if we just show them like, oh, it matters to put care into the food and make it part of your everyday kind of home culture. Like, hey, we always make food. We always come together. And my little one is insistent. He's my sous chef. He insists on helping. So we have no choice but to include him in every part of the meal making process.
And cook and washing up. And washing up, I hope, which I know that you would. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, they do. They want, I mean, that's like a no brainer for us because especially because I have two boys, like I want them to be self-sufficient, and I am doing a service to their future partner, whoever they are. They're going to be self-sufficient. They're going to know how to do all the things. So
I know my husband can't cook for shit. And he just, again, didn't grow up in a household where, he was allowed in the kitchen. Loosely saying. And so then he just kind of was like, yeah, whatever, I mean, he does other stuff, luckily, like he cleans and whatever, but yeah, that department he doesn't. My son shows a lot of interest, a lot. And it would be a disservice to be like, no, don't, obviously there's some things that are a bit dangerous that I'm like, okay, we need help. Like, you're not going to take the pot of boiling water to the sink, but sure. Yeah, but it's true. Like we need to change that. And I think by making things like easy and getting him, involved in cooking, I feel like he still doesn't give a shit though. Like he'll cook, but you know how people are like, oh, when they cook, they'll tend to eat it more. And I'm like, yeah, it doesn't work for him. But over time, I think it will. And that's another thing. I don't really go down that whole path of making separate meals. I know people are like, oh, but my kid doesn't eat this. I'm like, how do you get them to eat? I'm like, I don't. I put it there and I'm like, that's a dinner. They know every night it's a home cooked meal pretty much every night. They know that if they don't eat that, then, it's a banana in bed. And I know that sounds really mean and people might not like that. But at the same time, I can't get them in the habit of eating the same shit every day because then they just know, oh, hey, I don't like it. So I'm just going to get whatever I like. Mummy's going to make my thing. And that's more work for me. And then but you know what? It's funny. I've been doing that. And I swear after maybe like, I'm going to say 10 times, my son will come round to like, oh, what's that? I might just try it. And he might try it and then spit it out, but at least he's tried it. And that's progress. So it is what it is. I know that's pretty tough. Do you do the same? Make me feel better.
No, yes. And you know what? And I always say that it's harder on the parent than it is on the child. The child actually will bounce back so much easier. They're just testing boundaries. So if you're consistent, this is what in everything in general with parenting, it's like it really stems from us, right? From the parent. Like if we aren't consistent with how we react to certain situations, if we don't show that consistent pattern in our routines and our habits and our rituals, then the kid realizes, oh, they don't really mean what they say, or they change all the time. So yes, I say I'm the same way. We do courses. And so we level up. First course is always protein, and then it's usually a carb, and then it's fruit for us is dessert.
Mm-hmm.
And so they eat whatever fruit they want, as much as they want. And that's just our leveling. And so they know they don't get to the second course unless they finish their first. And so we do that with soups. We do that. We eat a lot of animal protein. And so, yeah, and it's no longer a discussion, right? Like, you're not hungry, you don't want to eat. Okay, kid's not going to starve. They're going to be fine.
Exactly. I feel like
And
by me caving in, it's more of a bad habit than doing like your head goes, oh, they're hungry, I've got to make them something because then they won't eat. So you think that it's a good thing, but it's actually like creating an opposite effect and a long-term thing. And when
and
they
just
get
let
older,
them know, like, I feel like, I always say, like, I make it with extra love. Like, the reason we cook all the time is because, and I mean, my kids know way too much about nutrition, and we talk about oils, we talk about why things are healthy and not healthy, and sugars and all the things. So just even talking to your child like an adult.
exactly.
Like,
I know it's funny how that
transparent.
they know, my kids know like manchego cheese, they know goat's cheese. My mum went to a different deli than the one that we go to, and she bought provolone, and there's dolce and picante. So dolce is a bit sweeter or whatever, like, and the picante is a bit more peppery and sharp. He doesn't mind either. But she had bought a picante and he tasted it and sniffed it first. Sniffed it. He's 5 years old. He sniffed the cheese, tasted it, and he goes, that's not the right one. Like, how does a child? But they do, because they're used to it and they know. And I feel like I don't know about you, but when they get a taste of outside food, it's never the same as home. Like, I don't know if they put some fucking preservative in it. I don't know what it is that makes them like it more. I'm not sure what it is, but my friends have said the same thing. She's like, I don't know why they'll smash a frozen lasagna, but then if I make it, they just don't. I'm like, there's something in that makes them want to eat it. I'm like, how can you?
Okay.
Literally,
There's
sugar.
always sugar in everything.
Yeah.
And salt, and lots of salt, and probably like, here, listen, fun fact. I used to work in food marketing. I've worked for all like
Oh my
major
God, did
brands.
you?
Yeah, I did.
Oh my
So
God.
I used to be the bad guy, positioning products and menu items. We would actually, and I would work in the kitchens with some of these brands developing
Like
new
frozen
products.
meals?
Well, in some cases, yeah, with Tyson, but yeah, no, I really have, like, I've been in like testing kitchens, and like literally this is what they do. They engineer products to taste good. I mean, there's lots of testing that's done, but also packaging, right? And so anything that claims to be healthy, I run for the hills. I actually don't typically buy anything with a barcode. I try to just eat as nature intended, eat whole ingredients. And that step alone. If you do nothing but just buy things that don't have a shelf life, you're good to go.
Yeah, I think one thing that I've
simple.
changed a lot is being very mindful on tinned tomatoes. I don't think people realize how much fucking sugar is in that stuff. I tend to just buy a bunch of tomatoes, like especially if they're on special. And I know, again, this does take time, and people probably listen like, Marilyn, I don't have the time. But really, if you just, like I say, do it, but with forward thinking in your mind, it is actually a time saver. You buy like 4 fucking kilos of the tomatoes, chop it up, pop some onion, garlic, fresh herbs in a tray, pop it in the oven, pop it in the slow cooker for God's sake, and then blitz it up, and then portion it off into little containers in the freezer. And you could use that for everything. You could use it for your pasta, for whatever. It's just little things like that. And I know that people are thinking like, that's not really time, but you don't have to jump the gun and do that initially. I think start off with small things and just putting something on the table every night and keep it easy. Invest in a slow cooker. I mean, I know like for me, that's biggest time saver. I just did a podcast episode with another girl. We're just talking about slow cooker and how, versatile it is. And yeah, you do have to be a little bit organized, because obviously some things takes like 8 hours to cook in it. But if you've got stuff ready to go, you could just marinate it the night before, pop it in there and turn it on. It's done. It's done.
Yeah, no, I mean, honestly, these are all strategies, just like we do with anything. If you're going to start a new fitness routine, you pack your gym bag the night before. Maybe you make arrangements with your schedule so that you have the time, you move meetings. So it's the same thing in the kitchen. It's just that sadly, culturally, I think we just moved away so much from
Mhm.
our source of food and just that connection that food is to our life and how it really does impact our output. And so I know I feel better when I'm eating like real home cooked stuff. And that's
Totally.
just how we vibe in our home. Like we really don't eat out. Like, I mean,
No.
we're weird like that, and we're those weird people also that come with like our camping thermoses
Oh
and
my
we
God,
will
you are weird.
travel. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, we will bring our own stuff. And, but it's just a
But
way of life.
that's,
So
yeah,
it's all
it's all
perception.
how, yeah, and it's how you want to live it. You paint the picture that you want, and yeah, there's nothing wrong with it. And I just think, look, with anything that I do, I always forward think. I think that's the thing. So when people say, Marilyn, how do you do it? How do you cook? I'm like, listen, there's a lot of forward thinking, and not a lot. When I say, I'm like, when I'm planning out, if I'm going to do, say, pasta sauce, I will triple batch that. I will triple batch it so that I've got two ready to go in the freezer. So if I want to do a pasta run another night that's, busy, I'm taxi mom, there's extracurricular activities, I know there's a sauce ready to go. All I have to do is, pop through some pasta with it. Or if I want to do a lasagna, I'm not going to sit there and do the whole process in one day. I've got the sauce ready to go. When I'm doing, soup, for example, I'll do a batch at the beginning of the week and portion it out, or just leave it in a pot in the fridge. So I've got lunch ready to go. That was the first change I did, because I would skip fucking lunch and I would wonder why I ate shit and then like a horse in the evenings, because I was so hungry. But it was like I always had a good breakfast that would clock me over past lunch. So it was like that 2, 3 p.m. that I was like, okay, I haven't had lunch, but if I eat lunch now, then I'm going to screw myself for dinner, because we have an early dinner generally. So then it's like, what am I going to do? So I just reach for something that's easy to go. But by having, like, say, a soup or something ready to go in the fridge, easy. It's easy. It just makes my life easier. So
No,
always
I
forward
mean,
think,
well,
always.
and I think that the way that you structure things, it's like it's the best mom, assistant that you can have. Like if you reframe the cooking process to be like your personal assistant to help you kind of navigate your day. I think that's also another way to just reverse your relationship. Because I know for a lot of us who may be intimidated, maybe there's someone
Mm-hmm.
listening being like, oh, that's nice. You guys are really savvy. I want to give people hope. I did not know how to cook. I might have a 7-year-old. So 7 years ago, I just learned myself how to
Mm-hmm.
use a knife. So learn how to use a knife if you do not know how to use a knife. Super basic. There are videos, learning the proper technique, having like a cutting board, having like stability mat that you showed in one of your
Mm-hmm.
posts. I think it's just these simple little things that make your life easier. If you have high quality knives and pots, guess
Yeah.
what? Cooking is going to be so much easier. You're not going to hate it because you have the right tools. Same with produce and ingredients that you cook with. It's just that we don't have that awareness. So we make it overly complicated. And anything that feels uncomfortable neurologically, you're going to want to run for the hills. Like that's what your brain is intended to do. So if you're feeling discomfort about cooking, this is good. This means you're growing, it means you're
100%.
expanding,
And you
you
know
know?
what kick starts as well? I know that you are not this but purging, culling the shit out of your fridge, your freezer. I mean, it's the same feeling that we do when we cull like our wardrobe. We get rid of a bunch of stuff that we fucking hate wearing and we want to go and replace it with new. Do the same thing with your pantry. My pantry, I think it was not messy and like the M&M ad where like you'd open the cupboard and shit was flying at your face. But some people, yeah, they are like that. But just get rid of it. And I, for the life of me, bet you there will be tinned stuff that is expired because you've just forgotten that it's there. There will be double or triple batches of things like flour that you've bought for a recipe, used a bit of it, not known that it's there, and gone out and bought it again. And so give everything a good cleanup. And I know you're like, oh my God, but you will feel so good that there's less shit around you. Look in your freezer. What are things in there that you've already bought with intention to make? And see if you could create a dish out of it. I mean, go taco bowls, Buddha bowls, something like that, a salad, use it up and then start clean by keeping shit simple. And then when you build up your freezer pile, it's not a multitude of shit that's just piled up on top of each other. So do a big purge and clean up. And don't try to make it like Instagram pantry, Instagram fridge, where like people have these like fancy fucking herbs coming out of a cup that go like limp in a day. That ain't how you store herbs, sorry, but it's true. We do. We look at those pages and those people and we go, like you said, similar to when you used to watch TV, like you go into that world and you just start to dream and starts to make you, I don't know, like just dream and shit. And then you come back to reality, you actually feel fucking worse. You're just like, I mean, I've got the smallest kitchen in the world. Like if you guys see, it's like smaller than a unit, but hello, I still produce stuff out of it. It's doable.
It's magic. I know.
It is. And get rid of like all the, I mean, do you feel like you're just like Corningware and stuff just piles up? I don't even know how it, like plates and like, I don't know. I get random gifts.
I recently like got rid of all my, I had like 3 different dishware like sets.
Yeah.
I got rid of all of it. I got new utensils. I got new plates. It was like huge. And then I use mason jars, like they're going out of style. Yeah. And so I put every dry, anything I have, like if it's like raisins or whatever, everything in my pantry is with the mason jars, and that makes me happy.
And if you guys, I'm not sure in America, but like instant coffee here, we have like Moccona. They come in like glass jars with, just like a airtight lid. I mean, they're not amazing, but they're really good. So if you kind of like keep those as you're using, you can repurpose them just for herbs or whatever, and just pop them in the pantry until you can afford to buy, the fancy airtight stuff, which I do. I mean, look, I do like, and I did invest in it, but I use it, and I didn't initially. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. You don't have to go instead.
I use my mason jars to drink water. I use the little ones for the kids to drink water. Like we just find ways to do it. I'll do like little granola snacks, whatever. I mean, I try to find different ways, or even like the dry pasta, which I have not yet made my own pasta, but I buy this really nice Italian brand. And I actually open the package, put all the stuff in there so that when I am cooking, I don't have to spend the time to cut. I know these are little things, but I know that this is the stuff that you really focus on that I think is so brilliant. And these are the shortcuts that make your life simpler. And that's all this is really intended to be. I think that was for us really important, is to just strip back, have a real conversation. And we're not asking anyone here to be a chef, but rather how can you simplify your life so that you have more time for your own mental and emotional well-being, right?
Exactly. And your business and, your children. And then you're not like, and that's the other thing. I like to cook a bit earlier so that dinner isn't stressful, because I know here our school hours may be different to you, but mate, as soon as the kids get home, they're hunger raging. And if I just let them go for gold and just snack and binge, then I've missed that boat. And then if I'm going to start cooking, it's just stressful. But obviously if you don't work at home, prep the night before, just get a chook, marinate it, pop it in the fridge, have it ready to go. So all you have to do is shove it in the oven or put it in the slow cooker or whatever it may be. So yeah, a little bit of organization. But it's funny we're talking about that, because a lot of false beliefs just came up then. And what are some false beliefs you get? Because I definitely get, well, Marilyn, I'm not naturally organized like you. And I'm like, trust me, I'm not where we always talk about where we were, because we are who we are today because we've gone through those lessons and we've just created strategies to help us to get to where we are now. But what are some like real false beliefs that you get with the women that you help?
Oh,
where do you start?
I know. We can
have a whole shit show.
Well, I think that they just think that, like, I think we've talked a little bit about some of those where they just assume that I knew how to cook, or that I love to cook, or that I love to be in the kitchen. And I'm like, newsflash, I knew nothing. I knew absolutely nothing. But I did watch a lot of cooking shows. So I do feel like by osmosis, I learned a lot.
You do.
From Gordon Ramsay and all the people.
I love him. Now I understand why you like me, if you like Gordon Ramsay.
I love him. I watched all of like MasterChef. I watched all of it.
Just so cutthroat and straight to it. And I feel like you just need to be like that. Either it tastes good or it fucking doesn't. So
I know. Well, so I loved a lot of, so I was really into the cooking shows, Chopped and all this stuff. Anyway, so I do think that the biggest misconception is that it is difficult to home cooked to make home cooked meals. And I argue every time that it actually takes me less time to make a meal than it does for me to order something, which we don't really do. But if we were to do that and go pick it up and do all that, and honestly, it's never satiating. I don't ever feel like, oh, this feels good. So there's this,
Yeah.
a relationship with food that for me has really evolved through time. And a lot of moms come to me for weight loss. And so they come in with these conceptions of diets and restrictions and all of these things. When I just say, if you could just remove all the products from your life and just eat like real stuff, just do that. Like eat all the fruit you want. Like don't restrict, don't calorie count, don't do all that
Yeah.
business. Just eat real food and you recognize that it'll be so much easier. It will not feel hard. And I
Yeah.
just think that people think that it's supposed to feel hard.
We
And
love
it's
to
not.
make things hard. We love to make things complicated, whether it's
Yeah.
food, whether it's business, whether it's everything. I just, yeah, we're
Yeah.
here to like make things. And that's the thing, sometimes you think like, I can do this on my own. And yeah, like, of course, anyone can do things on their own, but sometimes we just can't. And sometimes we need a coach or we need a subscription or we need, to be in a community where we have accountability and we have support and we're heard and felt and we can reach out to someone and be like, hey, listen, I don't know how to fucking make couscous, can you just give me the download? Yes, they can go on Google, yes, they can search, but someone's coming to you and asking you for help because they trust you and they value your opinion. And that's what community does. And that's what like-minded people do. It's just like a non-judgmental space. So if anyone's like thinking like, I've already tried all the things, they don't work, I don't believe what you're saying, it's like, they do. It just means that you need to find your people to help you and hold your hand through that process. Do you feel like you
Yeah.
get more results? Like, did you get like any coaching or any help when you were feeling the way that you were?
Well, I mean, for my weight loss, so I like lost over 40 pounds. I was like over half of my body was
Wow.
fat. Like I had a huge fat
Yeah, I had a
percentage.
high fat percentage too. Yeah.
So I did have coaches um, to really kind of at least create the
Kickstarts.
guidelines, create the
Yeah,
structure, right? And I do feel that being around people that motivate you, that inspire you, you can't help but default into being like more like them. So I think it is powerful to surround yourself with really amazing people, inspiring people, people that are aspirational, that don't drag you down. So I know that that's also another thing to make note is, really check in with your tribe, with your mom circles. Like, are they all negative? Do they all default to some
exactly.
behavior? Because guess what? That's where you're going to default to. So if you ever want to change, you gotta, I'm not saying make ditch all your friends, but just,
No, just
evaluate.
like take a step back and just evaluate because you don't realize how much like energy and shit you take on as well. And it's like when you're feeling like shit, you gravitate sometimes to someone to help make you feel comfortable and justify why you're feeling that way, which like there's nothing wrong with that. But then imagine when, you could join, like, say, your little community where it's amazing, where there's women that are like-minded and are taking action and are being like, hey, yo, I need a bit of help. Like, you know what I mean? And I want to be around women that want to feel good as well.
Well, and you learn from other people's questions
Exactly.
and journey. Like I have learned so much in the communities that you and I have been a part of. Just hearing someone ask a question in a particular way that causes me to take a deeper look into something that maybe was a blind spot or I didn't even see subconsciously was a pattern or a behavior. So there's just so much to be said about learning from other people's human experience and more importantly, someone who is going through the motherhood process, which can be so
Totally.
jarring, can be so debilitating for a lot of us or overwhelming. And so to know that you aren't alone, you are not broken. There are other ways to parent and to be around women, showcasing their variety of ways of doing things. Then you can start to curate your own solutions that really fit for you. So I think it's amazing. I'm so honestly, I'm so grateful to have mamas like you in my life too,
Mm,
that inspire me, that push me. And you're like in my voice of like, okay, I got to do this. I got to do that. Like,
yeah.
and it's just, yeah, it's just so powerful and we underestimate it. Sometimes we think that we need to do it alone. Somehow
No,
that's like a badge of honor.
no.
No,
No,
don't,
no, that hustle mentality is like out the window.
don't do
I
that.
love that. And that goes even with business because I mean, you and I chit chat all the time anyway, but it's when you're in it, whether it's your health, wellness, or your business, you are blinded sometimes. And we can sit there and rattle off all these ideas. Like, I mean, I rattle off all these ideas for you, and I'm like, but Mon, this. And you're like, oh my God, I never thought that. You could literally give me the same advice back in like relative to my business. And it sounds so different because you are blinded when you're in it. Sometimes you just need like-minded people to be like stating the obvious or seeing something that is resonating with them that would really like it's sort of like feedback and just comforting. I don't know. Don't you reckon?
Yeah. Well, you have been so instrumental in a lot of ball moments. So, honestly, I think
Yeah.
there's future there in all of that. You provide a lot of clarity. And quite honestly, I just think it's refreshing to, I mean, the human experience is about connection, right? And
Exactly.
without it, where are we? And I think if we haven't already seen that, given our lovely, unexpected 2020 and all the things, like I know for me, it is one of my highest values is human connection, is to be able to feel like I am a part of a bigger community. And it's just as powerful of a tool that any other course or program that you can
I
possibly
agree.
purchase. I think that it's really important to not be shy from it. I know for me, I was an introvert, like believe it or not, like I didn't really go out or socialize a lot, especially when you're not feeling well and when you're not
Yeah.
100 and you feel like, well, I don't feel worthy or good enough, or maybe I'm not like fit to be a mom, which was like my story. I
Yeah, I
really felt like
know.
something was wrong with me. I was like, I don't know how to craft. I don't know how to, I'm not a Pinterest mom. I'm like, I don't know
Yeah.
like how to, and I just like, there's just so many insecurities that I had in motherhood because I didn't grow up with a mom like that. My parents were immigrants in this country. They worked 7 days a week. Like basically, I grew up with my grandma who, like it's
I
just so
know.
different. Our
Yeah.
upbringings really do inform who we become as an adult. And so if we're trying to reverse the trends for the future generations, this is what is the work. The work is to do it ourselves first so that we can lead by example. And being around moms that are awesome really just help you step up, help you level up and really
And takes
feel,
the guilt away, takes the
yeah.
bullshit guilt. Like, oh, you should be doing this because that's what like all these old stories that were like embedded in us from bullshit generation. Like, look, and there's truth in what they say for their time and how they got by and whatever, but doesn't mean that we have to do what we're told. You know what I mean? It has to make us feel good. And, if you're happy being a stay at home mom and stuff, that's fantastic. Like, there's nothing wrong with it as well. Like, there's absolutely nothing wrong. But when you're feeling like shit and you want to change and you don't know how to and don't know where you're going, like, I think it's really important to reach out. And that's what I love that you're doing. You're making a difference. Because, I mean, it's hard when you're in the thick of it. And in that stage, it's fucking hard. Like, the days are long. Days are
Yeah.
long and repetitive. It's like Groundhog Day. That's what it felt like.
It's true,
That,
especially the first 2 years of life with a little one. You just do feel like your life's on repeat. But really start with the foundation. That's why I think you and I always bond over food because it really is the solid foundation to everything else. Like if you feel good, then you can do better, right? I mean, you can just do so much more. And I know that it sounds so basic, like drink water, sleep. Like we just dismiss all of the principles of living life,
I know,
but
right? Let's
really,
get rid of the fundamentals. Like, let's eat shit, not sleep.
no, let me just
Like,
go do this keto Atkins, like macronutrient like we just
I don't know
overcomplicate.
any of that. I tried
I
to like
never,
look. So I know that probably my saturated fat intake is a bit, not great. But at the same time, I'm like, yeah.
well, I say that bacon is my superfood.
Mm-hmm.
And I use lard all the time. Fat is not bad; it's good. Your cells actually need it to have to absorb the nutrients in our food. And so Fat was really vilified by the sugar industry. Fun fact, I won't bore your audience, but there's a whole history behind why things are the way they are. There's a lot of vested interest in certain, commodities to be seen as not as bad. And so, if anything, if you can walk away with one thing, is just eat natural sources of things. If you
Totally.
are wanting something sweet, go eat all the strawberries and bananas. Like, they're not going to kill you. It's much better than eating something processed or something that's like
And
not
just
good.
listen to your body as well.
Yeah.
Like, you'll know when something doesn't sit right, when it doesn't comply. Like, your gut will just blow up like a balloon.
Yeah.
On that note, I always ask my guests, what is your can't be fucked go-to thing that you make? And I know this one's for the kids, so there is a little bit of fucks in it, but
Well, I'll be sharing. So buckwheat pancakes
nice.
are actually naturally gluten-free. I didn't know what buckwheat was. I actually thought it was.
Is it gluten-free? I thought it
Oh
wasn't, or
yeah.
maybe I did wrong
Oh yeah.
research. No, is it? Oh, there you go. Okay.
And don't ask me for the history of it. I just know that it is really a good, nutritious option in lieu of flours and all the things. And so, simple recipe. But for us, like, pancakes are our go-to,
Yeah.
and we add lots of eggs to any like pancake or waffle like recipe. We just double up on the protein, and we add some flaxseed in there just to kind of get more diversity in a particular dish. But this is like foolproof, super basic, super simple. You can make a huge batch to honor Marilyn, batch that up, make a whole big batch, and then just refrigerate or freeze them as you see fit. And that's what we do at home. We always make a full batch, and then
Yeah.
we just, every day we have nice breakfast options.
I don't know how. I mean, I've seen those bottles in the shop shelf where it's like add water, and I'm like, no. I mean, even if you don't want to do buckwheat ones, like just normal regular ones, I mean,
I mean,
easy.
honestly, the
And
most
do it the night
basic
before.
one is bananas, smashed bananas and eggs.
Yeah.
That makes the pancake.
Yeah.
It's that basic. I
Literally.
mean,
I think it's
literally.
just people might not know. And again, make it the night, like seriously, I make it like in 10 minutes the night before, pop it in the fridge. So in the morning it's ready to go, because I just want to, like, we do it generally on Sundays, and I want to sleep in a little bit or have a lazy morning, and I don't want to be, freaking cracking eggshells and shit. I just do it the night before, 10 minutes when the kids are out. Done.
Yeah. No, that's smart. That's very smart. So yes, that buckwheat pancakes, you'll love them. And then you can just top them with fruit and honey and, like,
All the
just
good stuff.
do
Maple
it up.
syrup. Yeah. So
Well,
tell me. Maybe not, but if you're married, yes, do it. All right, Monica, where can everyone find you?
the best place I always like to send everyone is to my Instagram, because it is my baby.
Shock horror. Miss Reels over here.
I love Instagram. Well, and also because there's so much content there for your audience to really dive into if they are interested in different topics about nutrition, about neuroscience, which we didn't really cover too much, but we kind of weaved it in. Everything is mental. And so
Habits.
there's just so much there. But Calibrate Your Wellness is the handle. You could also find me at calibrateyourwellness.com. But IG is the best way. DM me, give me a holler, let me know that you listened to this amazing conversation with Madeline. I love connecting with your people.
Thank you. We're going to have to do another show another time for sure. And we'll probably talk about habits primarily, because you are the habit queen. And everything that you say, I mean, it preaches the neuroscience that you teach as well, without us even realizing or putting that pressure on ourselves to have to know it. But it's everything we do is a habit, and small changes, small steps are big changes. That's what I kind of see habits to be.
Yes.
So thanks, Mon. Thanks.
Yeah, we did it. I know. And I love that we're like on opposite days. Well, because it's 8:30.
Oh, is it 8:30 at night? Shit. Sorry.
No, it's all good. But we're still vibing. I love that.
I know. I love that. I love how we can connect with different people all around the world just with a couple of clicks, and the internet didn't fail today. So all hail. Internet gods are with us. All right, Mon. Thank you so much. Bye.
Yes. Bye.